Let's talk about a really fascinating but also disturbing journey through hell, basically. Let's talk about Mad God. Hi, my name's Stu and welcome to another review video on Flying Wiener. Now, if you're not familiar with Mad God, I myself wasn't until recently before I watched this. I watch various people on YouTube doing reviews and talking about films, and very often I'm introduced to new films. I'm like, oh, I should better check this out, and Mad God was such a thing. Although I'm actually quite surprised because the film was made mainly by Phil Tippett, who is a name I know, of course. If you're not familiar, he's a big name in the industry. He is very big on animation, all sorts of types of animation, but particularly with models, monsters, animals, things, whatever. The things he's worked on are like Jurassic Park. He's worked on Star Wars, and I'm talking about the original trilogy, You've got RoboCop and Starship Troopers, among the many things that he's worked on. So, this is a guy who knows a lot about animation. And this is a very interesting thing because I think this was sometime around when Jurassic Park came out. He actually had the idea for Mad God. But because of the way that animation itself developed, while films like Jurassic Park and others were made, he was convinced that he won't be able to make this film because he wanted to make it as a sort of stop motion thing, like the original King Kong and things like that, or various monster films. I remember watching these when I was a kid, Greek mythology and Sinbad and all these, so you love these kind of things. Wanted to make a film in that vein, and he was like, okay, people are not going to be interested in this. Interestingly, 20 or more years later, a group of people surrounding him actually convinced him to return to this project, and he should make it. He went on Kickstarter and he managed to gather, I think $150,000 was the budget for this film, and in 2021 it was released. So this is the background to this film. So this is his film. I mean, obviously other people worked on it as well, but this is really his brainchild, and it is a fascinating journey. So what is it about? Well, this is the first problem we're encountering because I am too stupid to explain to you what this is about. That is my blunt answer. Other people who are nicer would say, no, that's got to do with it being just a very subjective story. So what it means will really be up to your own interpretation. I can only tell you plot-wise about what we see on screen. And it's very bizarre, so you'll have to stick with me. But I'll give you a brief overview. So we are focused on a man. He's got this big suit on. He's got a sort of gas mask and a hat. He seems to be in very protective clothing. He's descending in something that seems like a diving bell or something like that. He's descending among rubble and various other things. We can see this is some kind of really destroyed city, whether it's the future or not quite sure, but probably. And we watch his journey as he's moving from one environment to the next. He encounters a lot of various beings, creatures, some smaller than him, some bigger than him. And we're watching basically as he's working his way through all sorts of weird and wonderful landscapes. That is basically the story. We see a lot of things. It reminded me a lot, just to give you a sort of impression of what I feel it's like. It reminded me a lot about the Divine Comedy, so Dante and Dante's Inferno in particular, but generally the whole comedy, where we watch Dante, walking through various sections and seeing, especially in Inferno, various sinners, etc. I feel like this was particularly referencing Inferno with that, because we see various, I suppose you could call them people, in a lot of situations where you feel like they're being punished for their sins, or it's at least being symbolic for that. Unfortunately, we don't have, like in Dante's Inferno or the Divine Comedy, we don't have Virgil to actually explain a lot of things to us. The whole film is actually more or less without dialogue, so it is a very visual piece because of that. There is sound here, so it's not a silent film, but just so you know, there's no dialogue, there are no characters explaining anything, there's no narration. That's why I'm saying it's very much open to your own interpretation. Visually, there's a lot going on, so we've got all sorts of beings, and I really need to mention or stress that the budget was only $150,000, because you see so many things here that really prove you do not need these massively expensive films that we get nowadays to make something that is visually interesting, because the care they took to create all sorts of environments and characters and beings is really fascinating, because you see so many things and you're looking for all sorts of details in every single shot. So it's made with a lot of care. And you care for this character, this main character, although he doesn't say a word. We don't even see his face, he's behind a gas mask. But we're like, okay, we're supposed to care for him because he's obviously a human, and not all of these beings here are human. You'll see once the whole thing develops. So yeah, visually there's a lot to see here. Like I say, if you're the kind of person who has a lot of fun with interpreting stories, etc., you'll have a great time here, because a lot of things here, probably a lot of things that went completely over my head. You know, there's a lot to discern here, a lot to decipher if you want to do that. As I mentioned, there's no dialogue, but the sound, just the whole sound design is done really well. So with it being stop motion, you've got obviously a lot of sounds that need to be created, because there's none created by the thing itself. And it's all great. You feel completely immersed. All the sound design is so great, and it feels just completely realistic. At the same time, I need to mention the music, because music is great. It's always sort of just, it's not big and booming and overwhelming. There's always a bit in the background, but it really gently sort of leads you through this story, and I really liked it. It's got this sort of ethereal, eerie quality at times, absolutely fitting to what we're seeing on the screen. So it doesn't need any more than that, you know, and that is very unusual for today, of course, to have a film that's about 80 minutes long with no dialogue in it, but with characters, so you would expect dialogue. But it's fine, you don't care, because you're not distracted by the dialogue. You're really taking everything in, from the sound, the music, to the designs, and obviously all the imagery that you're trying to work out in your head. So it is, I will say though, and I do have to say this, it is generally a sort of experimental horror film. There are a lot of scenes in this that won't be easy to stomach. That's why I'm saying most references Dante's Inferno in that sense when we're talking about a gruesome journey, because a lot of gruesome things that happen here, really brutal, really visceral, disgusting even. So yeah, so this is definitely not for the faint of heart, even although a lot of it, or pretty much all of it, but there are some actual human characters in it as well. Although most of it is animated with clay or other things, it still looks really, really disgusting. So if you're squeamish, don't watch this. Definitely not. Just read the synopsis and try and work out yourself what the film is about. And even that might disgust you too much. But overall, like I say, a really fascinating story. I'm happy for Phil Tippett that he was able to make this film. It's definitely an interesting watch. Not sure if I would watch it again, but maybe, who knows, someday. I definitely don't regret watching it, because, like I say, very fascinating, makes you wonder about a lot of things, and I have absolutely no clue what the story was. So if you want to know, you'll have to go to other YouTube channels who analyse it and are definitely better at telling you about these things. But I highly recommend that you watch Mad God if it is available to you. That will be all from me today. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share and subscribe. It is the best way to support this channel. Leave a comment down below if you've seen Mad God. What do you think of it? What is the story in your opinion? You know, or if you've seen a very good breakdown of the story, please let me know that as well. We've got other films, especially in this vein, that you would recommend, because stop motion is something we obviously don't see a lot of nowadays, and it's a really wonderful art form. I enjoy it quite a lot. Anything you want to say, put it down in the comments below. I'll thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one on Flying Wiener. Take care.